Hello, it's Joanna. I'm the National President of JCI Poland.
Hello everyone, this is Damien, the CEO of QP.
We would like to invite you to the new podcast series about business and lifestyle.
Hello. In today's episode, we have a special guest, Andreas Zeitz from Germany. Andreas has over 20 years of experience as a project manager and accountant, combining the financial side and experience with the tools of project management. And he is sharing his experience of running projects in different countries, including several very interesting thoughts about cultural differences that actually can influence how effectively and efficiently you can do business internationally. We hope you find this conversation inspiring. Enjoy.
Project management, or what the hell went wrong. I did a lot of projects all across Europe, including Denmark, Sweden, Northern Italy, Roma, and United States, United Kingdom. So I saw a little bit about this. Oh yeah, project title, project management, or what the hell went wrong. So obviously there are we have some members already or participants who have done project management, and why is it always so difficult to get a software in? Here are some facts, figures, and from studies. You see roughly a third of all the projects got terminated before finishing. Nearly half of the projects got delayed. In North America, the rate of termination has been even higher. You see it's nearly 60%. In the UK, nearly all projects got delayed, so not in time, not in budget. But they took a different approach. They made it go live. Slightly more than the half of the interviewed people have been satisfied with the new implementation. So if you think about customer satisfaction, just above 50%, which is not very high. And you see the DACH region, which is a German-speaking region, is a little bit better, but I think it's sometimes also more demanding. But I wouldn't say generalize it, but it's a little bit a different approach. But we will see to it. Yeah. So expectations for a new ERP system or any other kind of customer relationship management system or interactive system somebody needs to use, or for instance, if you have architects, they have the so-called BIM models. And this is perhaps a well-known slide already. So how the customer explained it, and you see what the customer really needed, and all the way through what's going on. And this is really part of the reality. Now we come to the pitfalls. What I have done, I have put up slides, and I was putting in first the pitfall sentence, and then kind of solution or explanation. So you can see, before the project even started, a budget will be determined by the CEO, by the CFO, or whoever. No analysis made. So I just put in an amount of money, and it will make it. So, and the software partner says, of course we can make it. Yeah, salespeople are very good, and they just want to make a sale. No question asked. So this is where all the issue starts, but it happens very often. And this is because you have a strong sales department and perhaps such a strong project management or after sales department, for instance. The customer knows all his processes and will have a crystal clear about communications. So, they know everything about their processes. No, it's not the case. It's in the head of the employees, and no documentation is there, because this is especially in small and medium-sized company the case, and nobody really bothered about to write something down. And suddenly you have to explain it a foreigner, and you get a lot of question marks. How should I explain it? How should I go forward with it? And at the end, is the person even capable to explain it. So which is also. So pitfall 3, oh yeah, didn't change the name. So it's customer, Kunde is in German. The customer knows all his processes again, and I call it ice cafe syndrome. So if you go to an ice cafe and you ask the person in the ice cafe, I would like an ice. That's all. I would like an ERP system. I would like another software. Sorry, we have at least 15 different tastes. We have espresso, we have tiramisu. Please tell me, what do you really want? That's also an issue. What I have learned through my years, the customer can't even tell you what they want. I want to have a new ERP system, and I want to digitize my company, and then after this, I'm fine. No, this doesn't work at all. But this is very often the expectation how the customer comes. So for consultants, for project managers, actually you have to tell the customer how they should really tell you what they want. So you have to train them. Now the consultant comes in. Sales process is done. I am the expert in accounting, and I tell the customer now how they have to handle their accounting and how they have to run their orders, their sales, their purchases. However, there are companies, especially small and medium-sized companies, which exist perhaps for 200 years, and they are hidden champions. How the hell I'm the one to tell them how they have to work? So this is the consultant comes in, they're very, very strong in their knowledge, but they never bother to ask firsthand the customer about their background, going into their history, where they're coming from, and what makes out the success. At the first presentation, yeah, this is also what I've seen very often in presentations. After the first presentation, you got a rough overview what about, for instance, Microsoft Dynamics NAV, Business Central 365 is. And now the customer should explain all the change requests or should put in the requirements. And you don't even know what the software is roughly all is about. So they never got the training. They never got a little bit more insight. They never got adapted to the software. And now the customer should make already change requests. This is a wrong approach because you think, oh yeah, they know it already. Everybody knows Excel, everybody knows Word, but you would be surprised how much you don't know about the software. And with ERP systems, it's the same. So this is also one of the biggest pitfalls you can do as a consultant or company like this. Now we should make a workshop to understand these processes because beforehand we knew perhaps it was not the right way. And now the CEO comes in, is this really necessary? My people know everything, what they have to do on a day-to-day work is just a waste of time and money. So how should an outsider or a colleague from another department know the small details? The devil sits in the detail. So it's sometimes helpful if a salesperson has to explain a purchase person about their process, or the stock person has to explain the engineer how they run their department. This sometimes helps. So therefore, these processes are absolutely necessary, and they're actually the base of some change requests if they are necessary. So, but again, saving money at the wrong time. And now this is one of the highlights. The ERP project is an IT project. So you can ask yourself, IT employee, first-class accountant, first-class lawyer, sales crack, production specialist, and an HR manager in one go. Or perhaps an industrial designer, yeah, something like this. No, it is not an IT project, not at all. So the IT is just providing the tool. It's a company project, and therefore everybody has to be involved, every department and proper key users. And to hand this over into the IT, it's perhaps a starting point, but it's just to guide people in a technical way, but not in their day-to-day work. And therefore, it's really, you need to have a sponsor, which should be a CFO, a CEO, or a COO, and not the CIO at all. And a decent documentation is quite expensive. Of course, you have to write something down. Ask the lawyer if you have to write something down. It costs time and it costs money. And therefore, a lot of people shy away. Also programmers, they don't like to do it actually because they like to program, but they don't like to document. But you saw some black holes. And actually in a day-to-day work, you have these black holes, yeah, because you lose your ideas in a day-to-day work, it's just get lost. So it's really like having an idea, it gets into a black hole, that's it. Lost for everything. And you can't remember. So this happened to me on my own. And this was a rough lesson I learned because afterwards you have a lot of argumentation, either with the customer, if you're on the software provider side, or internally. So decent documentation is a matter of survival, actually. So I took this from a German project, but I think you're quite aware. So everybody speaks German, okay, and therefore accountant and programmer understand each other. This is actually wishful thinking, because a programmer has his special mindset, an accountant or a lawyer or a salesperson has a special mindset. I had once an argument between sales and accountants because a salesperson told the accountants, you can't close your books, what's missing? Yeah, we have a difference about €2. Okay, he was taking his wallet and saying, here are the €2 and then you can close your books. They nearly killed him. And I had to shove this person out of the room and said, you don't know what you're talking about, because this difference, you never know where it's coming from. It could be just only €2, but it can be also, because you have this balance, this scale, it could be a huge amount of money, which can be different. And it just sums up to €2. You never know. So never say this again, otherwise they kill you outright. Yeah. So, and this is why you need a glossar, common terminology, what they're really talking about. Or I had the case in SAP, they said, oh, we have to customize. In Navision, this is already programming. In Navision words, this is set up. Very simple things, but IT people speak with each other. ERP specialists speak with each other and they don't understand. Yeah, so we work all in the German company, so this is a very German approach. This is why I took this also as an example. And the work style is everywhere the same, everywhere in Europe. No. Other countries, other manners. Yeah, you have to face. This is definitely the case, even between Germany and Austria, for instance, as an example, and even stronger between Germany and Switzerland. You saw the DACH region in the beginning of the presentation. So they all speak German, and they should understand each other. But work-wise, no, it is not the case. And you have a very practical issue. Even in Germany, you have different bank holidays. So in Bavaria, we have the most. Northern Germany has less. And then you have a simple matter, which is vacation. So in other countries, you have other holiday times. Italy, for instance, is closed in August, totally. Boom, it's simply closed. Yeah? So no chance to get somebody. So if you want to talk to an Italian accountant in August, it could be quite a challenge, yeah, because there's nobody is there in the office, yeah, only an emergency group. Now we agreed, we are international, so we are here like in JCI, everybody speaks English, and everybody will understand the other team members. Yeah, but not all people are native speakers. And then you have regional differences. And the biggest difference, for instance, we have between the UK and the US, they definitely have different wordings. Yeah? And I put this together because you see the 4 flags next to it. It's an English flag, which is the top left. Then you have the Scottish flag, which is the blue one. Then you have the Welsh dragon. And then you have Northern Ireland. So the Irish perhaps understand each other much better. So with the people from the Irish Republic, than somebody from London. Yeah. So, and therefore also you have to agree again about the common wording. So despite you think, okay, everybody speaks English. And if it's about non-native speakers, then it can become even more, a little bit more challenging. So write something down, agree on something, what you're talking about. This is very, very important. Customer. Mostly this comes out of the management. The implementation of this ERP software or CRM software or documentation management software, something like this, a new architecture program, BIM program, can be just done just beside the day of the day-to-day work. And you have seen now the processes which are suddenly involved. You have a lot of new things coming up, new work, 4.0 industry. And the next slide, this is why it was called 12A. 12B is, no, it's not the case. The new software solutions required in the beginning, especially, or if you're a key user, you have to work with the software itself. A lot of questions actually only come up and change requests come up when you work with the software, because then you understand what's going on. And also you have perhaps also a new process because of the new software. And suddenly this is, and if you don't do this, if the boss says, no, this can be done as a side job, you can see the result on the desk of this gentleman, then you have your day-to-day work will suffer and the implementation will suffer. Result is, especially your key users get really angry about the project, they get frustrated about the project, they don't give the feedback, the programmer doesn't get the feedback for change requests, and then a vicious circle starts to go on. And then suddenly the project acceptance also goes down, and this goes down dramatically. And this, to get this back, it's more difficult than having it going down. So it's easier that people get angry than being satisfied again. Now, also I'm here, so I'm just looking at it and they will do this on their own. No, software implementation is also a lot of things, has a lot of things to do with change management. People have to get accustomed to new things, have to get accustomed to new style of work, and people have a fear about changes. So they want, of course, they want to have something new, but they have to get out of their comfort zone. And therefore, you have to have somebody in your team on the customer and on the implementation side who is really good in doing the change management. And you have to put this also into your implementation plan, because in the implementation plan, you also have resources, and you need to have a kind of change manager if it's a really huge project, or if you have good consultants, they do the change management, for instance, for the sales department or for the purchase department during the implementation, during the training, and they have to work this. But you have to put this also into your project plan as the time, because the pure training is done perhaps in 3 days, but then the change management suddenly starts. You have to train the people, and then you say, okay, I need a week just to massage this into the people's minds and so on, and put an extra week of training of change acceptance in. And suddenly the whole project takes a different timing. This is really important. Otherwise you get this chaos. Yeah? So everybody thinks, okay, I do something, or I like to do it like I have done the last 20 years. Yeah? Which is obviously not good if you get a new software. Yeah, and this is also a thing which I learned also not as a junior consultant. This is really the job of the project leader or of senior consultants. Customer is king. Every change request the customer wants and pays, of course, will be done. So no question if this makes sense. No questions of the return of investment. My sales department is very happy because the sales guys just has to come to the CEO or who is responsible for signing of the new change requests and says, okay, next sales is done, next change request, my programmers are busy, and they will do a lot of work. So perhaps even in a kind of Scrum sprint, no feedback from the customer, just developing 2 weeks. You deliver this, and then the customer says, we can't use it because we have now learned to work with a new ERP system, and we found out if we change a little bit our process, we can use the standard module for this. Perhaps an extra field here and there, a renaming, that's it. So you have a programmer who has worked his backside off for 2 weeks to be in time, you have a customer who gets a bill for programming and says, actually, I don't need it anymore. So, and now all the arguing starts. So why didn't you make a proper change request? The customer is asked. So why didn't you go into more detail? Then the customer will come back to you and says, why didn't you ask us if we really need it? So where is your change management? Where is your really consulting in our business? What's really going on? So for the project leader, it's now the time to say no to the customer, which is not very often well liked, and it's definitely not for juniors. So you have to have a standing, of course, but sometimes it's better to say no and to say, okay, we take a different approach. Let's talk about this topic again, sit together, and perhaps we get a better solution. Perhaps it's even in the budget, but we save the budget for something else. And this makes the biggest success at the end. So the conclusion: without rules for everybody, don't start at all. And I underlined everybody because the everybody also counts for the CEO, for the CFO, for the so-called steering committee. If they have to deliver something, because you need something from them to deliver it, like a standard, for instance, some new budget and things, or a setup somewhere in the background, which only can a CEO agree to, then you don't start at all. Because if somebody says, no, I'm the exception of the rule, I can do what I want, then you start to plan a failure. Second thing is take nothing for guaranteed. This is why I brought up these examples. Yeah, so about the language. So in your case, Polish, yes, we understand each other. We have IT guys also here in our group. We have non-IT guys in our group. Of course, they understand each other when they speak their language. Yeah, but if they speak about their topics, yeah. So I would be very surprised if anybody really understands Joanna if she talks about her profession in detail, if you're not a lawyer. So I wouldn't have a chance, even if I would be fluent in Polish. Yeah, so no idea what's going on. So take nothing for guaranteed. And because I'm also an accountant, what I have also learned, a group preparation saves time and money. We have a rule in accounting, says think about a certain topic twice for 3 minutes. It saves you 10 to 30 minutes in the end. Think about now, if you do a project and you prepare beforehand, it takes perhaps a little bit more work and you can't feel the result already. But the point is, you save at least 3 times the time you have put in there. And if you think about a larger implementation, which can last half a year, or even longer if you take bigger programs. So if you save some time in the beginning, it takes you 3 times more. So the process would have taken a week, so you have to spend 3 more weeks. So, and then your time and your budget is more than in danger. And this is a repeating thing which comes on and on and on again. So if you want to survive, make a decent documentation. Yeah, why is this so important? Either it's first it's about collecting all the ideas. Yeah, write something down. Usually, if you write something down, you have to think about what you're writing down. So if this is a really good idea, or if this is a very often you have the case. Yes, I have a special case here. We have to program this also into the existing program. Yeah, it has to be handled. Okay, write it down, and then you ask, for instance, how often happens this? Is this a 5%, 2% issue, or is this a 90, 95, 98% issue on a day-to-day work? So is this a daily routine? Very often you get the answer, yeah, but this is for my special customer who has a special need when we do the special order on this special. So, okay, it's a one-off, yeah, once a year. Okay, you write this down and we make a decision. We don't spend money for this to make programming because it's actually a process issue. Yeah? Of course, you have a person who is not so amused about the statement at all, but at the end, you will win. So because it's important. Second point, why it's so important to have a decent documentation. You come, the programmer has done something. Something went wrong. The programmer gets ill. So a second programmer comes in. Very practical thing. Yeah. No documentation is there. So what the new programmer has to do is a reverse engineering, and he has to get into the thinking of his colleague. So for the ERP software provider, it's also a lot of money which they have to put in just to get on with the project. Yeah? Just a practical thing. And at the end, sometimes a lawyer comes in, and because the customer and the service provider, the software provider, they have an argument, it goes close to a lawsuit. And if you have something written, at least people know what they have talked about. So we have a German saying, so wer schreibt, der bleibt, so which means really who writes something down, who can stay also to his opinion. And it makes people more sensible about what they are doing actually also. Yeah. Is good consulting includes to say no at the right time, which is the most difficult part because you have a conflict from your own sales department. Yeah, my programmers have to earn a lot of more money. We want to make an easy and quick sale. The customer could be, yeah, also a little bit not so amused about because somebody suddenly says no. So we don't do this. We take a different approach, yeah, which is also difficult. But as I said, very often it saves a lot of time and money and leads to a better solution. And it's important that you always tell the customer, okay, we have an idea for this. I don't say just no, like I say no because of no. So you always have to give a solution. And, but of course at the right time. And always ask the customer, or if you're in a project, what it will be the key factor of the success. Yeah, either in the project, which you do for JCI, what will be the what will be the success factor, and what is the success factor for a customer. So why have they survived for 200 years in the market, have made all these changes, but at a certain time you have to say no. So, and yeah, which is a funny thing, a lot of people don't believe it, but even in Germany, you have cultural differences, yeah, and they are not so small, because a lot of people think, okay, if I go to northern Germany, it would be the same if I go to Cologne, yeah. So if you have a person from Cologne who is a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more, yeah, flashy, I would say so, and especially with the carnival, and if you go with the same approach to a person from Hamburg or to Upper Bavaria, you wouldn't sell a cent, because they have a totally different approach how they handle things. So they are more quiet, more thought after, and things like this. And this is when you have to get in, when you go into a new area, also read about what's typical for this area. Yeah. So is it typical to have a carnival, to be more outspoken? Is it more a relaxed way, which can also be a difference. So if you come in as a German, very going and eager, and yes, we want to do this now, and then you go to Austria, they speak German, even they speak the same dialect like people from Bavaria, but on the Friday afternoon, they can be very relaxed because everybody wants to go into the mountains, yeah? So then the German approach is definitely not the right one. So, but this you have to get to do beforehand. So inform yourself about the culture you expect in an area, inform yourself about the culture inside the company, yeah, and this makes a lot of difference if you have a success and if you break the ice. What I have learned through my career, if I go into a country, I read about the history, about the area where the people are from, and what's interesting about, and sometimes you really surprise the people that you know something about a particular part of their country, that you know about the history, where they're coming from, why you have certain symbols and things like this. This also helps. So, and this also breaks the ice in cultural differences. So, as I said, and the most important part is really take nothing for guaranteed. So if you think about this, this is, I would say, one of my key success factors, but also one of my mistakes in the past when I took something for guaranteed. No, it was not. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions. So as I said, I did a lot of projects all across Europe, including Denmark, Sweden, Northern Italy, Roma, and United States, United Kingdom. So I saw a little bit about this.
Thank you, Andreas, for the great insights. I do agree that the culture aspects are very, very important. And to be honest, I only realized this during a special training, which lasted the entire day, when we went through different styles of negotiations, management, and reactions, depending on where in the world you are and in which group you're actually typically moving around. And it is true. And from my experience, I actually lived in France, I lived in Germany, I'm Polish, so I have seen how differently you need to approach various cultures if you really want to sort of speak their language, but not necessarily in terms of vocabulary, but in terms of mentality that goes along. And what you said about the styles of management and the communication, there is a huge difference, for example, between the American style and the Polish style, where Americans will often push a lot to get specific results, while Polish people would like to get a bit more space and be more flexible in their planning. Same, we actually had a lecture last year during the National Convention in Wrocław, where the speaker was holding a short training for our guests from Germany, from Finland, and from Switzerland, talking about cultural differences between Poland and those countries. And our guests were very, very surprised to hear that Polish people make decisions typically very in an agile way, and sometimes last minute. They do a lot of twist arounds depending on the circumstances, which makes them more adaptable, but it also makes it difficult for them to do the long-term planning. And what stood out for our guests from Switzerland and Finland was that in Poland, if something is important, you do it immediately. If you have a meeting which is important, you push for the meeting within just a few hours or days. In Finland, if you want to have an important meeting, you need to wait for it 3 months or even more, because this means that you have deserved the time that someone is giving you. But typically, this meeting will be held. It is not going to be cancelled unless there is some really important reason for that. So we've also seen this in the clash of cultures between, say, Poland and the Netherlands, where people in the Netherlands also like to have their calendar filled for a long time in advance. And even this simple aspect of how do you plan and how do you react to the changes really makes it easy or difficult to work with a specific team, because if as a Polish team you would like to push things through on a very agile way and actually make the last minute adjustments depending on the circumstances, people in other countries will be like, wow, this was not planned. We need to go through the management, we need to go through procedures. We cannot do it as quickly as you would like to. And then you might have an internal conflict, which sometimes actually leads to lawyers, as myself. Sometimes it leads to the project managers that need to manage the conflict in an international setting. So I totally agree. This is something that you don't typically talk about when learning about project management, but this could be a very important factor for actually succeeding or failing in the project. So,
also, I have also some some examples. So the Polish approach, I would say, is also more a little bit like the medium and small size companies in Germany. So they also like to do things very, very quickly, make decisions, because very often the owner, you spend her and or his money, yeah, so they're involved, so they want to have a decision in a decent time and not on a long-term political things going on and around and around and around. And of course they need to have they like to have a framework. So, and they give decisions to people, and this is, okay, here's your framework, here's your budget, do your task, that's it. So, and be out of my way, I have to do now the next thing, yeah. So this is a small to medium-sized company approach. And then you have the very, I would say, like sometimes really like a state servants approach, yeah, which when you come to bigger companies, group of companies like Siemens, like Bosch, like the automotive companies, and it takes, and it takes, and it takes, and suddenly you have to deliver. But when you then say, okay, sorry, but you have missed now this, the timing, or the window is now gone, then they are totally surprised. Yeah, why couldn't you wait? Because we are still in the process. But for agile companies, they don't wait. So they just do it, and they keep just the window open for these huge companies. But I know a lot of smaller and medium-sized companies who don't like to work with a large group of companies. They say, okay, I stayed out of automotive. Second example was, there was a Swiss company buying a German one. And they said, oh, there's a spare part issue, yeah? So why do you send your customer, when you send them, because you have a reclamation, and you send them a spare part, why do you send out a second invoice? The Germans looked at the Swiss and said, of course we send an invoice because we delivered a second part. Yeah, but in Switzerland, this is not possible. Yeah, why not? Yeah, because we send it back, they send the part back. We investigate about if was it really a failure of the production or a mistake from the customer. And afterwards, we make the decision, either they keep the spare part we have sent over and then they get an invoice, or not, whatever happens. But then the Germans said, sorry, this is not the approach, because we are in such an agile market. If I can't send the spare part, because they need it now. So to run their machine, for instance, they go to my competitor in Germany, they go to the second competitor in Germany, or if they can't get it from there, then they go either to the Netherlands or to Poland and ask for the spare part, because they have to run their business. And then the Swiss said, oh, this is really fast and agile. We didn't think about this. Yeah. So it's totally different about how you go. What is also important is, what I have also learned is, you need to make a project plan. Either if you do a project in JCI, not a complicated one, of course, but writing something down, or if you do an implementation project, either for a machine, for a software, whatever. So it's a general knowledge, I would say, and it's a lot of common sense also in it, because if you, it's a famous saying, yeah, or infamous, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and this is true. I have also learned my lessons. We had a mini implementation in Navision. We didn't say, okay, the customer knows about everything they really knew about, but we didn't make a plan. And nearly this mini project went wrong, yeah, because just in the last second, you came around the corner and just make it happen. But it was a lot of extra effort, because there was no timing. Somebody forgot something, because there was no scheduler coming up and things like this. So this is so important that you go ahead. And this is actually the big chance also in JCI. If you do projects, if you convince people about your project, about your content, then you can test it out in JCI. So without harming your business, and then taking these lessons learned into your business, and okay, go from there. This is a unique opportunity you have in no other organization, actually, that you can try out projects. The other thing is also, you have to deal with a lot of so-called alpha, females and males. So, and this is also coming back, this came back actually to my work. I started then in my project management to convince people about the solution, selling the projects to them and saying, okay, I don't do it because I want to earn some money. only because it was part of my job. It was part of my interim management job description. I got money for this, of course, but at the end, it was a solution for you and for your company. So if you sell your project about the content and about what the goal, the final goal is, then suddenly people start to realize, oh, this is a cool thing. I want to do this. And then you get to dynamics into your project, which really starts to evolve. And if you can support this with change management and with some other, even nice to have, some like, okay, we have tonight a meeting, ordering some pizza, whatever, some drinks. It's just also to show that you really like what they are doing, so that you really appreciate what they are doing. So, and this comes then suddenly back into a positive way. And this is also quite demanding for project management, because you have to involve yourself a lot. But at the end, when it comes to the end, your workload will be less. Yeah. So this is also quite out of my experience. The workload in the finishing stages will be less compared if you just have to push all the time. Because people are self-motivated. And if they are self-motivated, sometimes you have to take them even back and say, stop. At this point, yes, this is really second phase, and not first phase in the implementation. And once I had even the issue that the key users had one key user from 6 or 7 who was not really taking part in the project, was the obstacle. And then suddenly the other 6 key users came to me and said, we know that you have blocked a room for you all the time, exclusively for this project. Can we have this room for 2 hours, please? Yes, of course. What's the matter? Yeah, we have to make some internal discussions. Yeah, and we have to come to a conclusion. But it's just purely internal. Please really make a sign, don't disturb. So, and we made this. Okay, I said, okay, I was not really involved in this. But later I found out that they had an internal discussion, and they replaced, the key users replaced one of their own key users with the other key user and said, you are out now because you are the obstacle. We want to have this project as a success. Yeah. And they kicked him out of the key user group and took another person in. And okay, we said, okay, fine for us, because we see your involvement, that you're really engaged and you want to have a success. And this was really also for me a highlight, because this doesn't happen so often, but it really shows that you get also a group hygiene a little bit into it, and that it works. And so if you have a chance even to at least to take some of the ideas which I put in the slides, also in projects in JCI projects. So really think about how can we approach, especially if you want to do also some projects with people abroad. How do the Dutch do some things? How do the Polish do some things? How do the Germans in the middle do some things? Perhaps we can also make a bridge, so bridge the gap. Yeah. So also, and this is also, or to give you another example, cultural thing. In China, very often people from southern China take people from Shanghai to Beijing, to northern China, because they don't understand each other so well. Not only language-wise, because they have huge cultural differences. Yeah, so they take like an ambassador for them to northern China from the middle of China. Yeah, so this is also what is really important. So, and as I said, JCI is a good way to start this, to learn this, to take part in training courses. And sometimes things are quite obvious. And despite I'm doing things since 20 years, I also go to regular trainings to hear again obvious things, to write them down, and to think about, yes, that's true. And for me, it's clear that I'm doing this all the time. I'm doing this right. But again, it comes into my mind again. So, and this is also a unique opportunity which you can really use. And so we have things available for JCI to do so. and I kindly ask to take this opportunities, and Joanna can help you to go into this. And of course, if you want to go abroad or across, then you can always go through her and to ask also German organization, for instance.
Yes, that's the great part, that actually we can cooperate irrespective of the country and the city where we are. Actually, about the project that you mentioned, Alicia is now initiating a new project called the Diversity Day. So, and hopefully the experiences from this seminar will also help you with the shaping of the group and putting all the structure together. I would like to open it again to our participants. Maybe you guys have some specific questions, maybe a question relating to your real life case where you struggle what decision to make or how to act as a project manager. As a great opportunity. We still have some time, so if you would like to use the knowledge, feel free.
I've made some notes. Actually, because okay, it's not surprise for me, obviously, because I'm leading my company from 7 years. So, and we are doing also the projects for automotive. So I know how the process can be complicated. And when you are doing design of some very small stuff in automotive, you have to include the tax office, account office, sales office, and everyone have to say their expectation, and you have to find the gold solution for everyone. So you have to be so in my opinion also, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it works in my field, that you have to have very strongly developed soft skills. I mean, the good relation with the client is probably one of the top of the success of the project, because if you have a good relation, the bugs which are obviously will come in the process someday, because it's not possible to plan process without any bugs. It's just not possible. So you just have to calculate it. So the good relation is the very important. And also I think that, okay, I am in a good position because I am making the offer. I am my own new business. I am my sales department, and I am making the decision. So when I see that client doesn't understand anything, and he doesn't want to spend enough money because he doesn't understand, I'm saying, okay, I'm not taking it. So I am in a good position. But also, I think that the process management has to start earlier. I mean, on a step when the offer comes, because on that step, you have to plan all the schedule with the terms to make decisions and detailed brief.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So what I have also learned from a guy, it was actually a Scotsman in London I met, no clue about Navision, not at all, but very good in project management. We call this sandboxing. So when you start to make a project plan, what I usually also do is the timing, and then I do put aside, like in an Excel, I call it sandboxing, because you put your own resources in. So your decision is needed, yes, yep, or no, and so on and so on. And then it starts, okay, what is needed from the customer? I need an engineer. I need now the finance department. I need now this. I need now this. Then perhaps I have an IT company, totally different company who is also involved in our case, in ERP software. It's come more and more now into the cloud, but somebody has to order also the space in the cloud or the implementation. In the past, it was also, are the lines are fast enough? Is the server already there? Yeah, which is, and this is not an agile. This is really also the method to have fixed timings. Really, this is now the date the server has to run. So it's a milestone. So if this milestone is not available, the whole project is stopped. Or once I had a discussion, they should have tested something. So if I should test something for you, Alicia, and I don't get the approach to your system. So
of course you are not able to do that, it's obvious. Yes, right. So that's what I mean, that when I am preparing the schedule, I am writing down my duties, but also the client duties, because it has to, this is what I am trying to convince my clients, that actually we are not in the position that they are clients and I am the worker. Just we have to be the partner to make the success of the product finally.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the cases or issues which we have. We have very well-educated people in their field, but the soft skills are not there. And this is one of the big advantages you can train actually also in JCI. Despite I'm, as I said, a little bit older than the average JCI, so with 52, I also participated again in the discussion and training which we have. So really things which is available, you know, when you start to argue, also you have to argue in teams. So yeah, all these things, when you're a debating competition and so on. I even attended a debating training. Yeah, for me it was not so hard to improve the skills, but to hone this, to fine-tune this, to get things obviously. And it was totally nice in an environment because it was really cozy, because JCIs all around me. We had fun, really some funny topics, yeah. But again, it helped me also to fine-tune, to hone my skills. And when somebody talked to somebody else, I listened more carefully. And I saw, okay, this was not very, despite it was sounding nice, but it was not nicely meant. So it was really,
I think this is the worst thing, when the people are not listening. They are hearing, but they are not listening. And this is the main goal of all the problems will come.
yeah. And so this is, you can see it's always like a feedback loop, yeah, also, which I try also to do with JCI, where I still also like this and sometimes participate, even if there's a space left. And I get a call from for instance, from my local chapter, yeah, there's a space left. Are you also interested? Of course, the active members come first, so then I stay out. But if they say there's a space left, then of course I try to bring this in, yeah. And again, you listen better. So and we even had a debating competition also at the European conference. I became one of the judges, yeah. So okay, it was only timekeeping, but again, you listen. You really, again, so it comes back and forth, and this is what things it's all about. And this is also what project management in the end about. It's not the technology, which is in the most cases the software itself or the machine itself, if it's
but also,
done properly.
You have to have, I mean, for example, in industrial design, there are a lot of technology of manufacturing. So if I want to plan properly the process management, I need to actually get knowledge about the whole technology. And if I will not do that, I will not explain that to the client, and I will not be able even to understand what kind of problems can come in the future. So yeah, it's needed to come inside the company and very detailed aspects.
Yeah.
Yes, from my end, I can also add that Alicia has worked with a number of completely different industries, and they needed to really adapt not only to the specific client that has, let's say, a specific production line or design. They actually, as the studio design, the industrial design studio, they need to learn sometimes the entire branch of an industry. So this really requires a direct communication with the client, who is becoming a sort of the teacher for the external consultant. And for any of you here who is actually on either side, so you might be an external consultant or a studio that is delivering a solution, or you might be a company that is ordering a certain solution. It is always important to remember about this link, about the communication that needs to take place both ways. If you need to have a project which is realized in a smooth way, it is not only about your subcontractor or the service provider, then it's not only their responsibility, it's also on the client side. So if you're a consultant, you need to push the client for giving you the specific information. If you're the client, you need to push the consultant to stay in touch and communicate all the milestones that need to be agreed internally. Same for legal stuff. I have just recently finished up a transaction like M&A transaction, which is mergers and acquisitions. And we needed to agree every step of the way, both in the company that it was being sold, as well as those that was buying this company. And there was a number of very small decisions that needed to be made on the formal level, on the management and the CEO level, in order for this entire process to be complete. So then you end up with a huge checklist, but it's not something which is automatic for every process. It has to be agreed with every party because it's very individual. So it's a bit different aspect of the project management, but sometimes business people keep forgetting about the formal aspects and the other way around. So you really need to push each other and make sure that everything is in line.
Yeah, and you have to make also strategic decisions. So do you want to have the sales people in the ERP system or only in the CRM system, and so on and so on. This goes through, and this is also the preparation. But it's interesting to hear about also that you have to get knowledge about your customers, industry, and the business. I had the privilege, because I'm, as a so-called finance consultant and a German accountant, I'm a so-called horizontal, not a vertical. So you go more into the vertical knowledge. I'm a horizontal, so I can jump from company to company. But in the end, accounting, it's always the same. So, but what, the point was when I was head of really project management and I implemented new software. I have my larger projects. I still know what they are really doing, perhaps not in every detail, but I know very well what they are doing. So I started for I would say my really first high-level project was with ThyssenKrupp Elevators UK. So I still remember that we had 30 years of guarantee, which is for finance people, usually after 10 years you throw things away, but they had to keep some drawings and things in the, it was not digitized, really into the cabinets for 30 years, things like the spare parts and so on, serial numbers. So this, I'm starting from there. Then I knew how to make, when you get a tattoo and it looks like a pencil when they stitch into your skin. But the company does three different types of these kind of pencil, which is for permanent makeup, which is for medical makeup. So which is when you have a scar that it also goes away. And of course it's with tattoo. The technology is more or less the same, but the stitching is different and the colors are different. So this is, what I also learned about this, I coming as an accountant, as a project manager, at the end I knew how they were making their colors, how the export was working, where they got their needles from, and things like this. So, and we did actually a calculation from pre-production process, really by hand, and looking into the system, is it getting the same result? And and now I have a permanent customer still a little bit more in the background. They're doing labeling machines. So everything which could be labeled, like a mouse with a strange surface, things like this, or a surface like this, like the cup, or anything else, they do labeling machines. So which is quite demanding. So they do small series, but also sometimes really special things for customers. They have large customers, or huge customers like BASF, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, but also medium-sized customers. You get involved into this, how they run their processes, how good they are organized. And there is now a appreciation from both sides. I like how they work, because they organize their business very well. Their CFO, it's a family-owned business. So the CFO is the mother of the company, I would say. So she's the mother of the family, and she's running the finances, and she has to deal with her husband and her 3 sons, which is also quite demanding. But they encourage people to grow also. And this is what makes a lot of fun, So to see, okay, you get a good idea, you have some younger, some more experienced people, but still they grow. And if you have a customer like this, yeah, so it comes back. And
that's
yeah,
actually what you're saying now is not that the project management is not only about the process and the planning and the deadlines, it's also about leadership, right?
yeah.
So growing people, setting goals for them, helping them go through their barriers and something that is blocking them, that's also the leadership skill. So from
Yeah,
my experience, yeah.
I have a question. What do you think is the strongest leader for perhaps for everybody? What do you think who is the strongest leader? What would determine the strongest leader?
I guess that one who can take people with them. I mean, for example, it works like if you are able to convince your team, your client to make something together, that means that you are a good leader, the leader, the strongest one. Because as you said also that you have to make them involve. You have to have involved people. For example, I have my own designers which are so involved that sometimes as the owner of the company, I have to say, come on, stop doing it. The client not paying for it. Stop. I don't allow you to design anymore. So this is, I guess this is the way.
That's a good point. And how about others?
Answering the question, in my opinion, the strong leader is someone who can encourage people, and because they have to feel, and they have to feel energy to do something, but it's also someone who is all the time learning from other person's mistakes. And there was many cases in the history, in the world history, that someone could just read some story about the similar situation and do things better. And I think also it's very important that person have to be able to listen others, because sometimes the leaders are too confident, and that they are not listening others. There is a great example that I think it was Kennedy. He created a board of advisors, and sometimes he even left these meetings because then those people are able to speak very freely, and they are not feeling his power, and then after they can just tell him what to do, and he can take he was able to take these advices under the consider. So yeah, but at the end this person have to make a decision, because it's everything is fine. They can speak, and everyone knows the meetings, never-ending meetings, but at the end someone has to make a decision, and yeah. So this is the strong leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Maciej.
So it's also about the courage, right? Yeah. According to what Maciej said.
Yeah, and also one of the points is also, if I would be project manager and I would have both Maciejs perhaps with me, I know they are strong persons. So a good leader also seeks out for other strong persons and says, okay, I'm perhaps the person who's only, yeah, shifting and doing the politics, yeah, and they doing the real work. So, and I protect them. So, and if you have a strong team, which means also perhaps sometimes a strong opinion, and if you can cope with this, then you become even a stronger leader. Because, for instance, you have also done, Maciej, you have also done projects in a lot of countries, so you also have experience. Perhaps you would disagree with me in a certain point, but I would be stupid not to take your opinion on. Yeah. Yeah, of course, perhaps I have to make the final decision. Yeah, so because I'm the responsible for the project, for the budget, whatever. So this is what I had to do actually in when I was in the United Kingdom, mainly in Nottingham. I had to do we go live, yes or no? There was a little bit of fear. Yes, I made the final decision. We stayed, by the way, in time and in budget. 11 months, 1 million euros. We came around out by 900,000 euros and 11 months. So it was actually, but I had strong people. I was so lucky that I got these people. Yeah. And if you're doing this actively as a project leader to say, okay, I'm looking for strong people. Yeah. Because I know that I have at a certain point, perhaps I have a weakness. I'm not a good programmer, yeah, not at all. So I like to work together with very good programmers, stroke also consultants, at least a little bit. But sometimes I'll also get, oh, this is not a good idea. No, we will skip this entirely. We need a different approach. Think about again, yeah, please, Andreas, or make a proper change request. Now I need more specific details. Go into the process with the customer again, make the steps clearer. Okay, but I know at the end, I do my work better and the project will be better. So this is also a lesson which I have learned. And so this is also, I can really recommend to everybody. It's sometimes hard. And like you said, I have to stop my designers, but yeah, so this is really.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Andreas. I just would like to say that me as a mother is the biggest lesson for project management. I'm just, listening to you and being around my children. That's the big challenge, to be honest. But all you said, all you showed to us, all you shared with us was beautiful. And thank you so much. And I think last night, because I have time at night, so I'm listening to nice mentors. And last night I've been listening to Elena Cardone, the very powerful woman from USA. And I'm thinking like women has such a big power and they are so powerful. We need to spread our wings, like fly so high and share our wisdom, because we learn so much at homes, looking after the families. We are actually having this intuition that leads us to good decisions as well. I'm getting ready. I'm preparing myself to have my own business. So I'm learning all the time about this, like soft skills as well. And I think I've learned a lot. That's what Alicia said, like partnership between the customer and between you, yeah. The person who is actually doing something for the customer it's crucial. This partnership, it's so crucial. So yeah, this is very important. Just to, what? Recently, I've learned that your heart is so wise. So you can actually listen to your heart, to your intuition, to your wisdom inside. And sometimes, you just get the answers easier than, breaking the wall. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. So thank you so much, Andreas, and all of you, Joanna, for setting up this beautiful meeting today.
Thank you, Eva, for the heartwarming comments. I always love your energy, so I do agree.
Yeah, also, yeah, I have to perhaps to add something what Eva said, because we also have two boys, 22, becoming 22 and becoming 18 this year. So, and we still hope that we can travel to Japan, actually to the World Congress, or if not to the Congress, at least perhaps we will try to get into Japan without quarantine, because Germany is quite good in doing in the COVID thing. But what also I have learned a lot of lessons from my children. Children very often ask why, the simple why. And as a mother of, how many children do you have, Eva?
2.
Yeah, as a mother of 2, like sometimes you get unnerved by this why, and you have to explain. But gives you also a lesson. So if you can explain it, we have a saying sometimes, it's a little bit sarcastic. If you can explain it to a small child, you can explain it also to the management or to the top management. Yeah. So and this is
Exactly.
demanding. So if you get children's questions and they are very honest, yeah, which is also sometimes very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and they keep you creative all the time.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
And
exactly.
So I'm married since 27 years. So
Woo!
yeah,
Congratulations.
since yeah, you have to congratulate my wife. She's sitting next to me. So and because she managed the family in a lot of aspects. And yeah, and what you said about female intuition, I was always most successful when I had actually mixed teams in project management. So you know, a lot of guys you have a lot of males in IT and engineering business. And when I always had also the opportunity, my first when we stayed in time and in budget, I had a key user, a female key user, Jillian. We have still a connection. She lives in London, and she was a crucial part of the success because she had a different approach as the males. She had certain intuitions. And if you get this also in, then I think you get a perfect mix. Yeah. So sometimes it's not difficult. You can't breed them. Yeah. So if you have a project team where you only have males, okay, you can't breed the female for it. But at least you should try, if you have the influence, to get also females into a project. And yeah, my wife's intuition is sometimes very odd because I once had a call with a project colleague, and she said, "Oh, this is quite a dot 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 dot." Huh? So not very nice. And I said, "No, this can't be because we had just the first call. Perhaps you're mistaken because his tone was not so nice." But at the end, she was right. This gentleman was not very nice, to put it short. And it was because of the first call we had, not even having a picture. So this is a lesson for us guys, actually.
I think that in business, there's no end to learning. There's always something new that we need to understand better, right?
This is also a way of, I would say, the culture also in JCI, really learning all the time. Don't stay, just evolve. Like you have when you have kids, you have to evolve, you have to keep up. We are not the digital natives, definitely I'm not. My kids are already the digital natives, yeah. So Eva's kids will be very digital natives, yeah, and this comes with them. And if you want to cope, you learn all the time. And if I don't know how it is in Poland, but if you can manage also to bring this into your day-to-day work, that you constantly learn and that you have to evolve. It's also part of Germany about also the education system. You know, when you go into school, you don't go to university, but you do an apprenticeship, and then suddenly you realize what's going on. And then you go to the Chamber of Commerce, you do your extra grades there, and then suddenly it's ingrained that people learn all the time, never stay. And this is also part of the culture. And if you expect this from other countries, like in Asia, very often they have a degree, they learn, but they are somehow satisfied. Huh? So, and this is what JCI also makes so unique, that you learn all the time, if you want to, of course, yeah. Then yeah, it's a huge opportunity. And yeah, I just can encourage everybody to stay in touch. So, and yeah, to learn about things. So
guys, thank you so much for the exchange of experiences. We actually took longer than we expected, and that's always nice because it proves that the conversation was engaging and interesting for all the participants. So I really appreciate your participation. I also encourage you to stay in touch with us and follow the project that we do, get involved in the projects that we do, and do stay in touch also with Andreas. If you have seen some synergies and some cooperation possibilities, we have some people here from IT space, So maybe there is some opportunity for you guys to connect after this, the webinar. Thank you so much, Andreas. Special thanks to you. Thank you so much for supporting us, for taking the time to prepare the session and to hold the session, for staying with us. And thank you also for agreeing to be our mentor under the EDC program. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will also have a session with the national board together with you directly, so we can plan for further steps. If any of you guys would like to participate in those sessions, you're most welcome. It's about shaping JCI together, choosing opportunities together. So just let us know if you would like to do something. So I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for helping us.
So thank you, and yeah, it's good to be international, especially if you just have to jump on Zoom and to travel all across. So it's quite yeah, really nice, and I have to say I appreciate this very much, because I really like the JCI, it's Junior Chamber of Commerce in Germany, very strong in DI. This is the international part, and yeah, it's good to be again international despite not traveling. So, and yeah, I wish you all the best. Have a lot of fun. Stay safe. Have a lot of fun with the kids. So, so, and this is really, yeah. And as I said, yeah, if you have further questions, just write me an email. I will also see as soon as possible that I can answer. We connect each other on LinkedIn. I think we can build them further on also once all across Europe. I say I'm a European with German heritage, because yeah, I think Europe should stay closer together, and therefore we should really stay in contact.
Also Andreas, vielen Dank aus Polen. Das war Spaß, dich bei uns zu haben, und bis zum nächsten Mal.
Sehr gut, sehr gut. Tschüss.